Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
It's our literature unit for today, and it's going to be our literature unit tomorrow and the next day as well. And of course, in this particular literature unit, we're going to introduce to you a work of literature. In this case, it's a work of fiction entitled Robinson Crusoe. And we're talking about the mastery of man. Okay, this is kind of an adventure book. Lots of guys like this. I suppose this is kind of something guys prefer to read while the girls are reading the Bronte sisters and things like that.
No, Nancy Drew.
Nancy Drew. Well, then you'd be talking about the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew, which are kind of young mysteries or mysteries for young people, popular in the United States. But I would say this is a guy novel mostly, but I'm sure lots of girls have read this book as well.
Yeah, but it was turned into a show on TV, and I remember watching that. It was very fun to watch. But I didn't read this myself. I think you're right. More boys read it. My brother read it. I thought this show was really fun, Tom, so I'm sure the book is fun too. I was just too busy reading like girls' books back then. So we're going to be focusing on Robinson Crusoe for the next 3 days. And pay attention, we're going to be talking about the plot as we always do on day one. Here we go.
The year is 1659. Robinson Crusoe, originally from England, has traveled across the Atlantic Ocean to Brazil, where he's amassed a wealth of property as a plantation owner. His journey to Brazil was jam-packed with adventure. Now he's in need of slaves to work on his plantations, so he's sailing to the African coast for a slave-gathering expedition. Unluckily, Crusoe's shipwrecked on an island off the coast of Trinidad along the way. It's nearly 3 decades before Crusoe lays eyes on another living soul. In that time, he builds 2 houses and a place to store his weapons. He also plants crops from seeds that he rescued from the shipwreck, thus sustaining his existence. One day, some cannibals land on his island, where they begin preparing for their night's feast. Their prisoner, a native from a nearby island, manages to break free. Crusoe rescues the man and kills the cannibals. He names the man Friday and teaches Friday to call him Master. When another group of cannibals appears, Crusoe and Friday kill them and liberate their captives, one of whom is a Spaniard. To Friday's great joy, the other man rescued is his father. Crusoe, in his first role as governor, instructs the Spaniard and Friday's father to find others willing to settle down on his island. Shortly after they leave, an unfamiliar ship arrives. Of the 11 men that come ashore, 3 are hostages. Crusoe and Friday overpower the guards and release the prisoners. One of the hostages is an English captain whose ship was taken in a mutiny. Crusoe convinces the mutineers they will be hanged unless they provide him with safe passage to England. Finally, Crusoe sets sail for England, leaving his island in the hands of the Spaniard. Crusoe visits the island once more in 1694, finding a prosperous colony peacefully governed by the Spaniard.
Okay, guys, Robinson Crusoe, the mastery of man. How do you master man? That's interesting.
Yeah, good question, yeah.
If you master something, guys, you get really good at doing something, probably because you've had a lot of education, a lot of practice. If you've mastered something, people come to you and want you to teach them, want you to consult with them on how to get better at something. I don't know if we want to be masters of men, though.
Yeah, but I guess in some situations people are, and it still goes on today in the form of slavery. And, of course, a lot of us markets are controlled by the market and stuff like that.
Well, and also dictators, in some countries like North Korea.
Yeah, I was going to say, you better not mention a name or they might send someone down here to do something nasty to you. But you're not afraid. But in any case, we're talking about Robinson Crusoe. Some people actually say Caruso, but it's correct to say Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe, The Mastery of Man. And we're going way back to the year 1659. My goodness, that's almost 400 years ago. Robinson Crusoe, who is originally from England, has traveled across the Atlantic Ocean to Brazil, where he's amassed a wealth of property as a plantation owner. So this is an Englishman, and he's traveled across the Atlantic Ocean, the big pond, and he is now in Brazil. Well, he's already got things set up there in Brazil. He's amassed a wealth of property. If you amass something, you collect a large amount of stuff together in one place. So he's amassed a fortune, you could say. If you work hard, you might amass a fortune, which I'm sure a lot of you are thinking of doing. And here, he's amassed a wealth of property. A wealth of just means a large amount of valuable things. Property, of course, is land. And he's also a plantation owner. A plantation is like a really big farm, really huge, which typically in the past had slaves working on it, and they lived there on the plantation.
That's true. Now, it says here that his journey to Brazil was jam-packed with adventure. That's primarily the reason why young boys like to read this novel. This particular story is fun for them. If something is jam-packed with something, for example, on Monday morning, if you take the subway, it's usually jam-packed with people, or even try to take one of the buses that runs to work. It's usually jam-packed during rush hour. Just means it's extremely crowded. It's full to its capacity. So these books have a lot of adventure in them. We're going to be talking about the plot right now. Now, it says here he's in need of slaves to work on his plantations. So back then, of course, they thought that slaves was a thing that you could do that was okay. Of course, we know it's not, where you take people against their will and you force them to work for free on your land, planting and harvesting crops. A lot of those plantations were growing tobacco, cotton, things like that. He's needing slaves, so what does he do? He sails to the African coast for a slave gathering expedition. Sounds pretty awful these days, doesn't it? It's politically incorrect to do all of these things. So if you're going on an expedition, it's a long journey or voyage. Usually you go with a big group of people and you have some sort of purpose that you want to achieve. And here he's wanting to go and, I guess, kidnap and take some slaves back with him.
Indeed, it's an expedition, of course, when you take a journey or a voyage someplace with a particular purpose. An expedition to Mount Everest, for example, to try to climb to the top of Mount Everest. But here they're looking for slaves. They're probably going to buy some from some local warlords or something like that. And unluckily, Crusoe's shipwrecked on an island off the coast of Trinidad along the way. Here we have the word shipwreck being used as a verb. To be shipwrecked means that you're stranded someplace, your boat ran into a small island, there's no people there, and you can't get off the island, your boat won't work anymore, or it sank or something like that, so you're just stuck there. We could also say he is stranded on an island. If you're stranded, that means you just can't get away from where you are, unless you have help. Usually you're stranded on an island or something like that. This is the island in the Caribbean Sea, Trinidad, which is off the coast of South America, and this island he's stranded on is off the coast of Trinidad. I guess it's just too far for him to swim to Trinidad.
No.
Maybe there are too many sharks there or something.
Yeah, it's too far. Now, it's nearly 3 decades, that's 30 years before Crusoe lays eyes on another living soul. If you want to just emphasize that you're not going to see anybody. We'll use that phrase, another living soul. Maybe you're stuck in basement of a library studying and you haven't seen another living soul for 3 hours and you're going crazy. If you lay eyes on it, it just means you see somebody. In that time, in those 30 years, he builds 2 houses and a place to store his weapons. So he's productive. He doesn't, lie on the beach trying to get a suntan. He's he's busy building 2 houses, and it sounds like he's ready for war because he's built a place to store his weapons.Which
could be his guns, his bows and arrows and stuff like that. And of course, he's trying to survive, so he also plants crops from seeds that he rescued from the shipwreck. Okay, here shipwrecked is being used, or shipwreck, the word here is being used as a noun. That means the wrecked ship, basically. So I guess the ship was about to sink or something like that. So he thought, oh my goodness, if I'm going to be stuck on this island, I'm going to need to get some things. So fortunately, he thought ahead, he planned ahead and got some seeds.Which are things you plant in the ground, and then you've got crops. Crops, of course, are plants that you grow for food, like wheat, rice, corn, etc.
That's right. He rescued those from the shipwreck before he swam to the island, I guess. Thus, he's got things with him to sustain his existence. If you sustain something, you keep it going. If we don't have air, we can't sustain our lives. We have to have air. So he sustains his existence. Your existence just means just the fact of being alive. We exist. That's the verb form of this noun, existence. And for us to sustain our existence, we need food, we need shelter. It would be good if we had friends with us or family that we loved, but at the very minimum, you need food and shelter.Yes,
indeed. And I suppose things could have gone all right for him, but one day, some cannibals land on his island where they begin preparing for their night's feast. Cannibal, of course, is a person who eats other people, basically. They either do it because they don't think there's anything wrong with it, or maybe they do it because they have to, like that airplane crash in the 70s in the Andes Mountains. They had to resort to cannibalism, which is when you eat the bodies of other people. In their case, it was to survive, but here we got some cannibals. I have a feeling they're just doing this just for fun.
Well, these cannibals aren't eating people because there's nothing else to hunt. That's what they prefer. They like to eat people. So it's kind of creepy, I know, but they hunt people and they eat them. So these cannibals land on the island where they begin preparing for their night's feast. A feast is more than just a dinner or a supper. It's a lot of food, so they're expecting to have a lot to eat. We're going to continue talking about their adventure, but first, guys, we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello, 大家好，我是 Trevor， 欢迎收听 English Digest。今天为各位介绍的是 Unit 12文学单元 Robinson Crusoe The Mastery of Man 鲁滨逊漂流记殖民的思辨。文章的第一段说明鲁滨逊从英国起航，经商赚取了不小的利润。当他为了寻找奴隶而旅行到非洲海岸的时候，他的船不幸遇上海难，船上只有他一个人幸存，漂流到一座小岛上。我们看到本段的第二句 Robinson Crusoe, originally from England, has traveled across the Atlantic Ocean to Brazil, where he's amassed a wealth of property as a plantation owner. 鲁滨逊·克鲁索原先从英国启程，旅行横跨过大西洋至巴西。他在那里成为了一名农园主人，积攒了一大笔资产。其中的 property 在本句中为财产、所有物的意思。例如 The only property I have is the suitcase I'm holding. 我仅有的财产就是我所提着的手提箱而已。Property 也可泛指房地产、房屋和土地。例如 Due to the war, property prices in that country have been falling dramatically. 由于战争的缘故，那个国家的房地产价格一直急剧地下降。接着我们看到第二段，本段说明鲁滨逊一个人在岛上居住了许多年之后，有一天发现一群食人族带着一些俘虏来到岛上，鲁滨逊救了其中一名俘虏。由于当天正好是星期五，他就将那名俘虏取名为星期五。我们看到本段的第三句 He also plants crops from seeds that he rescued from the shipwreck, thus sustaining his existence. 他也利用从船难中抢救回来的种子种植作物，因而维持他的生活。其中的 existence 是名词， 在这里是艰困的生活的意思。这里补充一些常见的片语。首先 in existence 是现存的意思，例如 The blue whale is the largest animal in existence. 蓝鲸是现存最巨大的动物。Go out of existence 则有绝迹、消失的意思，例如 Payphones gradually will go out of existence as more people use mobile phones. 有越来越多人使用手机，公用电话逐渐绝迹了。最后 eke out an existence. Eke, E-K-E 是勉强维持生计的意思。例如 The people on the island eke out an existence from fishing and collecting fruits. 在岛上的人们勉强借由捕鱼和采集水果维持生计。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's continue our lesson. Now, we've talked a little bit about Robinson Crusoe here, the book. And, of course, we've got Robinson Crusoe. He's a rich guy from England. He's got some plantations in Brazil. He went there, and now he's on his way to Africa to get some slaves. But, unfortunately, he got shipwrecked on an island, and there he had some seeds, and he planted some crops and built some houses. And then where we left off, some cannibals had landed on the island, and they were going to prepare for their night's feast. I guess they were going to eat their prisoner, and their prisoner, a native from a nearby island, manages to break free. So the cannibals were going to come to this island to have a feast. Maybe it was some kind of a ceremony or something. And they had a prisoner who was a native, somebody from the local area.
I think that's who they were going to eat.
I believe so.
Yes.
That would make sense. Why the heck would they bring him there if they weren't going to eat him? But hey, if I were him, I would not want to be killed and eaten by a bunch of savage cannibals. So he manages to break free. Break free here is a two-word verb phrase. It just means to escape, to get away.
Get away from those guys. Well, Crusoe rescues this guy, and he kills the cannibals. I don't remember how many cannibals there were, but it sounds like Robinson Crusoe's pretty strong, and he's pretty heroic.
Well, he's got some weapons, too. Maybe some modern weapons. Like
modern.
Muskets, I guess.
Modern for back then, yeah.
I'm not sure if they probably didn't have howitzers back then.
No, or bombs, or, none of that
probably
stuff.
Had something that he could kill them easily with.
He names that man he rescues Friday, which I always thought was kind of funny. As a kid, I thought, why do you call him Friday? Who knows? He teaches Friday to call him master, which is it's referring back to this idea that he's the master of men, that he actually controls men. He did rescue this guy. He should have just let him go free, but he actually treats Friday pretty well, though. But he does want Friday to call him master. There are some people on this earth that just want to feel like they're kings, I think. So that's Robinson there. So when another group of cannibals appear, so there must be a lot of cannibals on that side of the world. Yeah. Crusoe and Friday together, they work together and they kill them and liberate their captives. If you liberate something or someone, you give them their freedom. And this group of cannibals, like the last one, they had prisoners as well. If you're a prisoner, you're a captive. Someone has captured you. That's the verb capture. And now you're captive. You're being held captive is how we say it.
And one of those captives was a fella from Spain. A person from Spain in English is referred to as a Spaniard. And they were really happy about that because he was a Spaniard. He probably brought some gazpacho with him and some flan and stuff like that. So to Friday's great joy, the other man rescued is his father. I don't think the Spaniard is his father. There's another man that they rescued. That man turned out to be Friday's father. And there was a big father and son reunion. Oh, son, I've wondered where you've been to. We're back together again.
How wonderful. Crusoe in his first role as governor. Remember, he's on this deserted island. He's made himself governor. No one voted for him. He was not elected. He just appointed himself governor. He instructs or tells the Spaniard and Friday's father to find others who are willing to settle down on his island. It sounds like Robinson needs more people to control or to govern, we could say, because of governor. The word govern, which means to lead and to kind of take care of people, comes from this word governor. That's the noun form of the word. If you're willing to settle down somewhere, it just means you want to put down roots. That's another phrase we use. You're going to stay somewhere rather long. It's not a temporary vacation or it's not a quick trip. You're actually going to stay there, build a home, maybe have a family. If you instruct someone, you teach them or you tell them what to do.
You do, and of course, the person who does that is called an instructor. And of course, they want to find other people so they can settle down and create some kind of society there or something like that. And shortly after they leave, an unfamiliar ship arrives. Okay, a ship is coming to the island, but they don't recognize it. It's an unfamiliar ship, and of the 11 men that come ashore, 3 are hostages. So, of course, a ship is too big to actually come right up to the island. It stops offshore a little bit. They drop anchor, and then they come in on a smaller boat. And there were 11 men coming ashore, coming onto the island, but 3 of them were hostages. A hostage is a person who's kind of kept prisoner because you want to get money from somebody. This happens sometimes if they kidnap somebody. You might be a hostage there. Hostages, of course, are very famous in wartime. The American hostages in Iran, for example, was that back in 79 or something like that? That was a pretty famous example of hostages.
Well, let's get back to the story here. It says that those guys, their ship had been taken in a mutiny. Mutiny refers to when the sailors themselves overtake the captain and they take control of the ship, and the captain is then held hostage or he's a prisoner. So I don't know if it happens so much today, but it happened quite frequently back then. Now, Crusoe convinces the mutineers. A mutineer is somebody who is involved in a mutiny or taking control of a ship. He convinces them they will be hanged. Ooh. If you're hanged, you're killed by putting a rope around your neck and being strangled. They'll be hanged unless they provide him with safe passage to England. I guess he has weapons to back up his words, so he can kind of threaten them. So he wants to go back to England. Safe passage means he's not taken hostage. He's just going to be a passenger on their ship. That's a way to get back home.
It certainly is. So again, they overpower those guards and they get rid of the prisoners. And we've got this English captain, and he lost in a mutiny. And then, of course, also we've got the mutineers, who are the people who conducted the mutiny. And they'll be hanged, as you said, which is a way of execution. I don't think they use it anymore, although I think Saddam Hussein was hanged by some people there back in Iraq. About 10 years ago or so, something like that. And finally, Crusoe sets sail for England. If you begin a trip on a sailing boat, you set sail for someplace. Or anytime you're on a boat, we could say that the Titanic set sail for America way back in 1912.
Yeah, and it's similar to that phrase, set off. If you set off for a place, then it means you leave and you're going somewhere. So set sail just means you're going somewhere by boat or ship.
Sail is used for trips on a boat, whether it's a sailboat or not. So here they're going to go back to England there, and he's leaving his island in the hands of the Spaniard. Okay, the Spaniards, of course, were quite good at colonization, where they took over large parts of the Americas. So he knows this guy is very responsible, and Crusoe visits the island once more some years later in 1694, and he finds a prosperous colony peacefully governed by the Spaniard. Prosperous means it's doing quite well, it's successful, it's making money, it's trading with other countries, and everybody's pretty much doing okay.
And a colony refers to when a country or an area is under the political control of another country, even a distant one. So it's a little colony that actually sounds like it's part of Spain, since that Spaniard is actually ruling it there at that point. So It's kind of an interesting story. I wonder if he died there or if he just visited and went back to England. But Robinson Crusoe did not have a boring life. He had a lot of adventure. Right now, guys, we are going to listen one more time to our Chinese teacher.
我们最后看到第3段，本段说明鲁滨逊和他的伙伴有天目睹到一艘陌生的船只来到岛上，后来发现那艘船被一群叛变的船员所控制，而那艘船的船长是名英国人，被作为人质扣押着。鲁滨逊和星期五制服了那些叛变者，并开始准备返回英国。我们先看到本段的第一句 Crusoe in his first role as governor instructs the Spaniard and Friday's father to find others willing to settle down on his island. 克鲁索第一次扮演起总督的角色，指导着那名西班牙人和星期五的父亲去找寻其他愿意在他的岛屿上定居的人。其中的 instruct 在这里是指导的意思。instruct 还有一些常用的用法，例如 instruct somebody in something 就是讲授教导某人某事物，好比说 The master instructed his students in the art of karate. 这名大师指导他的学生空手道的艺术。Instruct somebody to do something 则是命令指示某人做某事的意思。例如 The general instructed his soldiers to attack the harbor. 这名将领命令他的士兵攻击这个港口。我们再看到本段的最后一句Crusoe visits the island once more in 1694, finding a prosperous colony peacefully governed by the Spaniard. 克鲁索于西元1694年再度造访了那座岛屿，发现该处成为一个繁荣的殖民地，被那名西班牙人和平地统治着。其中的 prosperous 是繁荣的意思。这里补充一个单字，也有蓬勃兴盛的意思 flourishing。F-L-O-U-R-I-S-H-I-N-G 例如 France has a flourishing tourist industry due to its fascinating culture and magnificent attractions. 法国因其迷人的文化及壮丽的景点而拥有蓬勃的旅游业。以上就是今天的课程，我们下次再会。
That is all for today. We introduced the story of Robinson Crusoe to you today, and next time we'll talk about the author Daniel Defoe. So please tune in for that program. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.